Can you
testing.
hear me?
I heard him. Hey!
Excellent.
Okay.
Wow.
Do we want to
All
just
right.
act like we're starting over, or what do you want to do? High quality
Hello,
production.
I'm FatherIronHeart, and we're here to. T and I have talked a little bit, and we want to be role models as believers in the community, and so in a way to do that, you guys need to understand a little bit about us and what we're about, a little background. And so today we're going to do a little get to know you questions with each other, and then we're going to dive into something a little bit deeper. We're going to dive into our testimonies. And so first, probably the most challenging question we have for the day, T, when you are not gaming or streaming, what kind of hobbies and activities do you participate in?
So, once upon a time, I was an athlete, believe it or not, despite the terrible shots I might take on stream at moments. I do enjoy playing any sport, really just for fun. So I played a lot of like volleyball. I used to run in high school and college even. Basketball, football, anything along those lines was like kind of my go-to. My wife and I just binged through The Office over the winter, and now into the summer we're like rewatching it again. So I will say things have changed since I've gotten married. So I just got married like a year ago, July 14th. And so my priorities have definitely shifted in life as far as where I spend my time and leisure time. It was a lot different when I was single and on my own. So, but yeah, that's probably the main bit of it. I still try to be active in my church where I can. And so, yeah, enjoy that kind of stuff. But how about you? When you are not chasing the little one around, what are you up to outside of gaming?
Yeah, so as T mentioned, I have a and
You
often
cut out for 1
chasing
second.
her around.
Can you repeat yourself? You cut out for 1 second.
Oh yeah. I've got a daughter who's about 18 months, so I'm often chasing her around, and when I'm not doing that, I'm not gaming or doing responsible things. I'm usually playing softball. This summer I've got a church league going that I'm a part of. I love biking. If I have the chance, I'll do some disc golf and ultimate frisbee. I at least when it's nice out. I live in North Iowa, and so it's winter about 9 months out of the year, and so
this past year it was.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So I'm usually stuck inside, gaming or binge watching Netflix or something with my wife, or watching Moana for about the 1,000th time with my daughter. But if I can, I'm usually outside doing stuff with friends and hanging out with my small group and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. I was going to say disc golf. Actually, we just recently got in disc golf. We have a disc golf course like within walking distance from my house. And so even though we're both like terrible at it, it's still just fun to like, I think I picked up a disc for like $3 at Walmart and was like, okay, let's go play.
Oh man,
yeah,
so great.
It's cool. So what would you say is your day job? Like, what do you do for a living? Not that it's your identity, because I feel like that's what's kind of alluded to in this question is like, what do you do for a job? But what are you doing? What are you hoping to be someday? All that fun stuff.
Yeah, so I am still a student.
You cut out
Midwestern Baptist.
You cut out for 1 second again. Sorry, repeat it.
Of course.
No, you're good.
That's all right. I'm still a student. I'm going to Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. I'm using their online program. So the school's in Kansas City. And so my day job would include being a student. It would include, I'm an unpaid intern at our church, so I work with our youth group. I work with our teaching and care pastor on a variety of different things. And I actually have a paying job. I'm a Lyft driver. It's like Uber, but that's literally within a week of today. And spend just a little extra money so we can hopefully buy a house. But my main responsibilities include being a student and being an intern at our local church. So that's my quote day job. That's what I do. So it's a good time. So, T, I've heard you talk about your job several times, and earlier how you maybe almost fell asleep at a meeting. Um, what is your occupation outside of streaming?
Clearly, it's very riveting work. If I'm falling asleep, I was just telling him earlier how I was sitting in a meeting today and I almost fell asleep. Like I literally had to get up and leave the room because I was so tired. But that's besides the point. I do actually really enjoy where I'm at. In fact, I'll kind of maybe share a little bit later on how I got there and how the Lord moved in my life to just put me in this position. I feel very blessed to be there, and certainly don't feel qualified some days or deserving of it. But it's a great gig. So I work at a major retailer here in my state, and basically I work on the website where it's kind of called like site merchandising. So think of as someone merchandises a store where they set up the shelves and displays in a certain way. They're merchandising how things look, and I'll be merchandising a web page. And so when you're searching for whatever item, or if you're kind of just browsing through the different pages, are you going to see what you should or what you'd expect? And so yeah, that is the gist of it. And I think then on the side, my other I guess not ranking priorities, but first I'd say it's just like my job is to be a husband, and then secondly it'd be my full-time day job, and then now this little Twitch project on the side, whatever that comes into. Honestly, I've loved every second of it. It's been so much fun. So we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, very cool. And so with day would be keep cutting out.
I think it's like when you start talking again, it takes a good 3 or 4 seconds. So maybe,
okay.
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm too excited. Yeah. Just can't keep up. So you talked about how streaming has been a little thing on the side for you. Mm-hmm. What is your ultimate goal regarding streaming? Do you have reasonable goals and huge, massive, big dream goals? What's going on there?
Yeah, so I would be lying if I said I didn't have big, audacious goals out there, because I do. For those of you that follow me on social media and whatnot, I've been like, okay, I got my TwitchCon tickets. That's a big deal. That's an investment in itself to fund that trip and to go on it, and just kind of a leap of faith of I'm sure I'll learn a lot through it, but that was definitely more of a business step, and it'll be fun too, but okay, how do I kind of grow it into something more? And so I think I've actually had candid conversations with my wife about where I'd like to see it go in the future, but my gut tells me is I would keep a full-time job to some extent, or maybe a job share or something along those lines, so I could keep benefits and all that boring stuff. But really why I set up the stream in general, and why I've kind of gone through all these motions, is I'm playing games anyway for fun. I'm okay, I'm just gonna go play for 3 or 4 hours by myself, and not really, maybe talk to a few friends, and that's about it. But felt like I need to hold myself more accountable to my actions and what I was doing. And I'm okay, well, I'm a Christian, and I believe that Jesus died for me and died for my sins, and how do I kind of share that with the world and the hope I have in him because he's done that for me? I think there was long way of saying there's a lot more I could be doing. I'm kind of sharing Christ through my gaming, and that's what I'm trying to do through some of this stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. That you're able to. There we go. All right, that's cool. That's awesome that you have the opportunity to integrate your faith, your gaming, and make those two things work together. That's really cool. And so,
cool.
That being said, I'm looking forward to hearing about your testimony then, because I'm sure that those kind of play a role in working with each other. And so, I'm looking forward to that.
I've got one more question for you. So,
okay.
How would you say you've been able to strike a balance? You listed the you're now picking up a part-time job, the being a husband, the being a father, you're staying in school. I mean, your name is FatherIronHeart online here. So how do you keep an iron mentality as you go through these things in your life?
Yeah. First off, second. Test. Good. Okay.
Yep. So I should just nod affirmatively.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm not sure if I have the balance down. it's the summer right now, and so it's a lot easier to balance school because I'm in a 1 credit class, and my internship there's not a lot going on over the summer, so that's a lot easier. Once school gets going in the fall, I have Greek. My Greek class starts, and then halfway through the semester, I have a preaching class. So I'm preaching every 2 weeks.
This Sunday,
On top of my,
I said this Sunday, Kerplunk.
Yeah. Well, and that's just because our teaching pastor. This is over in the fall, starting in October.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a class that requires me to preach every 2 weeks, and so that on top of my Greek, on top of my internship, on top of being a father and a husband, and so how do I do it? God's grace. There's really no other way to say that I do it, because it can't be me, because if it were just me, it would fall apart. And so, that's really essentially is how I do it, is by God's grace that I'm able to balance all these things, and that and not sleeping. Those are probably the two main things. Just not as much sleep as I would like.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so now we can kind of segue into what we've been advertising, kind of sharing our testimony. And I think like the start of the stream might have gotten cut out on this, so I'll repeat myself here. But basically, like what a testimony is like how God has really moved in our lives to bring us to the men that we are today. And we actually haven't like rehearsed this part of it, so it'll be new for each of us to kind of hear each other's stories. So that'll be fun in itself. But there is one, you know what? Do you have that verse that I sent to you earlier? I wanted to read one bit of scripture before we get going. Could you read that if you have it pulled up? Otherwise, I could maybe scroll through it here. This is impromptu. I'm putting them on the spot.
I'm trying to find it in my...
We sent like 1,000 messages today. This is like... Oh, actually, you know what? I got it here. Okay.
There we go. Perfect.
Cool. So this comes from 1 Peter 3:15, and I think this is kind of like a commonly referred to verse when people think about like, okay, what's my testimony, or how can I share where I'm at today? So I think this is some of my driving force behind wanting to share this. Although I did not come up with this idea, I will give credit where credit is due. We had a little wife intervention on IronHeart's part. She came up with a great idea for today's talk. So, but the verse reads as this: "Instead, you must worship Christ as Lord of your life, and if someone asks about your hope as a believer, always be ready to explain it." So, I think that's like the best way I can set it up. Tyler, do you want to share your testimony story?
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in a Christian home. I had loving parents. I have a sister. Went to church on a weekly basis. Probably identified myself as a Christian for as long as I can remember. When I was late elementary school, maybe even middle school, something like that. I don't remember exactly. I was at a church camp, and they did the classic, you want to ask Jesus into your heart and pray the prayer, and I did that, and it was exciting, and it was like, ooh. But that may have been the moment that Christ rescued me. I certainly didn't live a life that was 100% in for Christ. Middle school, I swore a lot. I wanted to have a girlfriend like all the time, and especially in high school, I hung out with a lot of people. I was the nice guy. I still went to church, still did all of those things, but I definitely had this like acted a certain way at church and acted just different enough at school to where I was still the nice guy, still the one that people thought I was still a Christian, but definitely didn't live a godly lifestyle, and was just really consumed with myself. Wanted to do what I wanted to do. Went after the ladies and stuff like that, and yeah, that made some mistakes. I never had sex before marriage, but I definitely did some things that I wasn't proud of, and as a follower of Christ, definitely shouldn't have been doing. And then the summer I was going to graduate high school, lots of big things happened in my life. The first big thing was that I met my wife. We had been talking, but we had officially started dating at that point. And so she was in my life at this point. But then I also was in the hospital that summer, got super sick, and was diagnosed with rheumatic fever, which nobody gets anymore. It comes from strep if it's not treated, which I didn't know I had, and was on bed rest the entire summer. I graduated high school. And God used that to try to get my attention, say, hey, I'm right here. Look at me, look at me, look at me. And I was too focused on going to college. And by the time about midsummer rolled around, but there was a lot of other really crazy stuff that happened in that whole process, in and out of hospital for a variety of reasons, but eventually I got the clear to go to college, go to Iowa State, which being from St. Louis was like 6 hours away. And so that was probably hard on my parents, but I was just ready to go. Still dating Lauren at this time. So now we're doing long distance relationship, go to Iowa State and have a fantastic first semester. Got involved with a college ministry called the Salt Company. And that ministry, God was really using that ministry to do a work in my life. And God, again, trying to get my attention. I went home to have a checkup on all the stuff that I had going on from the rheumatic fever. And the rheumatic fever, the disease itself attacks your joints and your heart valve is what it does. And so like I had a hard time walking when I was battling it. And stuff like that. And so I went back for a checkup, and they checked my heart valve, and they found out that my heart was actually leaking blood. And like the left side of my heart was actually like a centimeter bigger in size. And so it was trying to compensate for the blood that it was losing when it would try to pump it out of my heart. And so when something's only as big as your fist, a centimeter is quite a bit. And so they're like, okay, you need to have open heart surgery. I was like, okay. So that was God really like, hey, wake up, I'm right here. And so instead of doing my spring semester at Iowa State, I took the semester off, went home, and had open heart surgery and had my aortic valve replaced with a prosthetic valve, and was on bed rest for a long time recovering from that. Weight restrictions of like a gallon of milk, because when you have your chest cracked open, there's not much you can really do. After that, couldn't drive, for a little while I couldn't even put a t-shirt on because I couldn't lift my arms past like this, so I had to have like button-up shirts and stuff. It was crazy. And still my selfish heart was so focused on getting back to school, on just recovering and getting better. Still like, yeah, God's there, that's great, that's awesome, but still focused on school, still focused on myself. And when I got back to Iowa State that fall, so I had only missed a semester, God continued to use the Salt Company. He put a lot of godly men in my life that really forced me to assess myself and where I was at spiritually. What, am I really trusting in God, or am I seeking after my own selfish desires? And through this whole situation, Lauren's walking with me and encouraging me and loving on me, just pretty much being the best that I could have asked for. And I'm here like moping in myself, being self-centered and looking to me through this whole situation. And eventually it got to the point when I was back at school that while I was baptized as an infant, I was really motivated. The Spirit really worked in me to encourage me to be baptized as a believer. I believe, I know there's a lot of churches that kind of differ on this, but I believe that baptism is for believers, that once you believe, once Christ has rescued you, you walk in obedience and you're baptized. And so while I was baptized as an infant, I was able to be baptized, if that's a word, while I was at college. And that was an amazing experience. And that's when God really was like, okay, finally I have your attention. You're not going in the right direction with your studies at school. And so went from meteorology to earth science education to want to be a teacher. And God was eventually telling me, hey, that's not what you're going to do. You're going to go into ministry in some capacity. And so I switched to psychology, which I graduated with that, but I've since abandoned for various reasons. But I'm now I'm doing seminary online. And through this whole process, God has and continues to teach me. I'm a very selfish person. I very often look to what my needs are and what my wants are. And in school, God taught me to focus on Him. And now that I'm married, He taught me is teaching me to focus on my wife, and spending time with her and being the husband I need to be to her. And now that I have a daughter, He's teaching me to be the father that I need to be to her. And so all of this has actually been incorporated into my Twitch name, which is FatherIronHeart 21-4. And so the father was just because when I decided to go into ministry, my buddy in college would always joke around and call me father, as if I was going to be a Catholic priest or something, which I'm not. Not Catholic, but that was always kind of the running joke. And now that I'm a dad, I suppose it's even more. Ironheart, because of the surgery I had, how God used that to pull me in. There was kind of a running joke that because I had a prosthetic heart valve that I was like Iron Man. And my surgeon didn't think that was funny at all. He shot that down real quick because it's not really metal, but my whole family thought it was funny. So that's kind of that. And then the 21-4 comes from Revelation 21-4, which is actually my favorite Bible passage. And it says, and it's talking about the new heaven and the new earth, and it says, and He will wipe every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more, neither mourning nor crying nor pain anymore. And just resting in the hope that despite all of this brokenness that our world has, the sickness, the poverty, the pain people experience, all of that's going to be done away with, and eventually God's going to come back. Christ is going to come back, and everything's going to be made new, and we're going to live with Him, and it's going to be amazing. And so, yeah, God continuously reminds me of a lot of different things, and continues to mold me and use me, and a lot of that stuff has brought me here today to be able to share with you guys this kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I'm glad for the opportunity. So yeah, that's a really quick flyover of my story.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other things, especially when I was sick, that I could go into. But to sum that up, it was just a long and tedious and trying process that I can look back on now and laugh about.
Yeah. Wow. I had no idea. Holy cow. That's crazy. Wow. Praise the Lord. You're here today. You're alive. Half Iron Man.
Yeah, man.
That's great. That's so great. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate that.
Oh,
that
yeah.
takes a lot more courage than some people realize to share that type of story and like who you are today. So Well, I guess I can go next. I don't know how I can follow that. I certainly didn't have open heart surgery to get to to get where I am. But yeah, I mean, so I guess I had a fairly similar background. I was born and raised in a Christian home. I was more or less dragged to church every Sunday, and really was like expected to be there, rain or shine. And I even went to like a private grade school, a private high school, um, and it was, yeah, really just like expected that I'd be there. And okay, before I go any farther, can you like mute your mic? I think it picks up like the background noise or something.
For sure.
Better. Okay, perfect. Sorry, there we go. It's just like giving feedback. So anyway, yeah, more or less expected to be participating, but I wasn't necessarily like actively um, living it out each day. And so I think it really was just a process over time. Even like through high school, I was considered also like the nice guy, and like I was. It's like, sorry, I'm distracted. I think I'm still picking up feedback. I don't know why. Is it? Do you have a mic on your webcam by chance?
Possibly. That's
Yes,
weird.
I can hear you.
Now, I mean, I just turned it on now.
Oh, you did. Okay. Try turning it off and talk, and then I'll pick it up again.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give you a match. Maybe if you go into like the Discord settings, and then you're still a nice guy, Truth. Thanks, Bruce. I appreciate that. I'll give you a second to figure out. Just because, like, I think when you stop talking, like, here's the fan in the background or something of your room.
That's so weird.
Ba-dum, ba-dum. Got it? Okay, can't hear you. Sorry, I was like reading chat. You're good. No sound. Perfect. Okay, so kicking it off again. Born and raised Christian home, you guys get that. I then went to college with a certain Spruce Gunman in chat, and I think I could really count on like the like one hand the number of times I actually even went to church in college, and that includes even like coming home for like Christmas and Easter and that sort of stuff. So I really had no interest in the church or like what that meant, and I was just living a typical college life, went on like spring break trips, and I had a blast through all of those moments and really formed like great friendships and people I'm still friends with today. In fact, next week I'm traveling to see one of them. Um, but I would say like some of my lifestyle choices and what we're doing on the weekends and that sort of stuff wasn't necessarily um, glorifying to God, and I never fully realized that until I had like actually had left college and I was in the workforce. I was doing a summer job at uh, a local amusement park, and so that's where I'd worked through high school and college, and I had some great friends through there, and really it got to the point where I was like having a ton of people over like every weekend and partying, et cetera, et cetera. I'll let you guys fill the blank there, but it got to a point where I was like, okay, I don't know where my life is going and who I really am gonna be. Like, is this where like the type of path that I want to be on? Where um, it just felt kind of like a dead end. I kind of looked at like the roommates I had at the time and like I don't know if I want to be like doing this anymore, guys. And so I eventually made the choice to move out on my own. Coincidentally, right around the same time, I was also starting to attend like a mega church in my area, which is I think it's still considered mega in most areas. That has like 6,000 some people that attend. But that's like basically I grew up in a small Lutheran church background, and for whatever reason, I had like negative connotations around that. So like this big, new, exciting place with lots of other people my age drew me in initially, and that was kind of the road of starting. Okay, who is God and what does He really mean? Like I was consciously choosing to be there. I was living on my own. Soon after starting to go there, and that slowly over time became my friends group of like, okay, like who are these people? What are they about? And I would say I told the line for probably too long, as far as like still partying some of the weekends and then going to church on Sunday morning, and kind of balancing that over time. And it's really been God working on my heart slowly over time of really aligning my priorities. And I say there was probably a big breaking point in time where I was actually laid off from my job. So I was working at the same retailer I'm at today, but I was laid off. And at the time, right before the layoffs, I had met with a mentor of mine from my church, and I'll never forget my preparedness or like my answers to these questions. But he's like, okay, Truth, what would you say are like your goals in life? Like, what are your goals for the next year? What do you want to do like at work, at home, etc.? Like, what are your goals? So I spent like all this time writing out like, oh, I want to get to like this job, and like I want to save up for a new car, and I want to get a girlfriend and buy a home, and like all these things. So I like wrote them all out, like took it super seriously, and then so I sat down and we talked over coffee, and he's like, we kind of like go over my answers, and he was super patient and just like let me kind of talk through it all. And then like his first line, I'll never forget. He's like, well, what about your relationship with the Lord? And I'm just like, oh, like how could I forget? Like I knew this guy was like a spiritual guru up here, and here I come with like all these like things that I want to get for myself. And anyway, so that was a big turning point, and I soon was part of like kind of a leadership team at my church for young adults, and that challenged me in a lot of different ways. And I would say then kind of moving into that layoff moment when I was laid off from my job, it's like, okay, where's my identity? It's not in my job or my title or how much I'm making in a year, or kind of climbing the corporate ladder, so to speak, but my identity's in Christ, and I know Christ loves me no matter what, and that's never going to change. And it took a lot of time and study and knowing that, he loves me, and that's like the best gift there is. That's like the ultimate hope. And so I am definitely still a work in progress. I am continually challenged, especially this last year of being married. I think we talked some about that, or at least you had touched on some yourself. But that is like the short version. Still continuing to learn and to grow. But I think that kind of hopefully gives you guys an idea of who I am and where I came from. So you can unmute yourself. Still not working? I'll give you a thumbs up when I can hear you again. Thanks for oh.
Hey.
There you go. Okay, cool.
There we go. Push to talk. That was the secret. Push to talk. Learning PC things. I play on a console, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So T and I have been sharing our testimonies, and at the base of our testimony is the gospel, and we have these stories for a reason, and that reason is the work of Jesus Christ. And so, if you don't know, and I'm going to tell you what the gospel is, and if you've already heard it, then praise God, you get to hear it again, because it never gets old. God is the ultimate creator of all things. He created the heavens and the earth. He put us here on this earth at this time. He made everything and has planned everything. And humanity and its selfishness and being deceived messed it up and brought sin into the world. Man was deceived by Satan, and now the world is full of sin, pain, brokenness, and my child has arrived. Hello, child. You want to say hi real quick?
Hello. How are you?
This is my daughter. This is Lily.
Hi, Lily.
Say hi. Lily, can you say hi? Lily, say hi. Can you say hi?
Hi, Lily. Hello.
Say hi. No, not feeling it. Is it bedtime? You're going to bed. Okay. That's my kid. The little terror. Excuse me. Bye. Have a good night. Bye-bye. Okay, so
No problem.
I guess the gospel can be interrupted by cute babies. I'm just assuming my kid's cute because I'm biased. So,
Cute.
So, yeah, so man screwed things up, surprise, surprise, and sin entered the world. And so because of our sin, because of our brokenness, we cannot be in God's presence because God is holy, God is righteous, God is love, of course, but God is also a perfect judge. And because of that, we cannot be in God's presence because of our sin. And so God, having such a powerful love for his creation, sent himself as Jesus to live a perfect life as fully man, but fully God. He lived a perfect life, and then he died the death that every single one of us deserve, a death on the cross, one that's just unbearably full of agony, but it's the death we deserve, and he took our place for that. And after 3 days, Christ rose from the dead, and when you put your faith and trust in him, when you stand before God, God sees the righteousness of Jesus Christ and not our brokenness. And it's an amazing thing. And when you have that, when God rescues you from your sin, it's an amazing, life-changing experience. And it's something that you just can't describe it. It's amazing. And so if this is something that you've never heard before, or if you're you have questions or whatever, I personally would encourage you to ask either myself or T, or I'm sure any of the mods in T's Discord or anything on Twitch would be happy to answer questions for you, to pray with you. The gospel is no light matter. It's something that I take very seriously. I think T takes very seriously, and it's something that is truly life-changing. You don't just accept it and then keep going about your daily life. God divinely intervenes in your life, and you are truly a transformed person because of it. Yeah.
Boom. There it is. Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. And again, something not easy to share, so I do appreciate you telling everyone the hope that they have. I think that's just great. And so, yeah, you know what? I think I will wrap us up with a quick prayer here, and then we'll keep going. Lord, I just thank you for today, and just the ability for IronHeart and I to share about your love and what you have to say, Lord. And I just thank you how you've so clearly worked in each of our lives, from bringing us out of sickness and surgery, and bringing us out of our worldly desires, Lord, and how you've brought us to our wives. We thank you for what a gift they are, and how they can continue to challenge us and grow us closer to you, Lord. And I just pray that you be with us and everyone here watching the stream today, that anyone that may have questions, that they are bold enough to ask and to move closer to you, Lord. We thank you for this gift that is free, and that you just love us so incredibly much, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen. All right. Well, thank you again so much for hopping on a PC here, you Xbox player. I appreciate that, and talking away with us, and helping us get to know you a little bit more. I hope you guys in the chat liked this material. I hope to do more of these types of talks in the future. Perhaps it won't be such heavy of content, but I do think this kind of sets the baseline, and IronHeart and I agree that this kind of sets the foundation for who we are, and helps you learn a little bit more about our lives. So we're actually going to transition into a little bit of Fortnite. Surprise, surprise, we play Fortnite on this channel. Weird. So we have 2 other spots open if you guys want to play with us. But I do thank you so very much for tuning into this. I hope you guys liked it. Yeah. Anything else you want to add there?
No, I thank you guys for participating, and I just pray that if you have any questions, or anything else you want to talk about or anything, feel free to message either one of us, and I'm looking forward to not only continuing to hopefully do things like this and share our faith, but also continue to interact with this community and game with you guys. So for sure.
Do you have a social media people can follow you at?
Yes, my
If you want to plug
Twitter.
it, you don't have to.
I'll shameless plug.
Okay.
Let's see. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I don't know how this whole Discord. What is this?
Yeah.
Second. Make sure I get my things right here.
You know what? I could post your Twitter handle in chat if you want me to do that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do, but you're gonna get there before me, so do it.
Okay, I'm gonna post it.
Do it.
There you go. Boom.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm not super exciting, but you can at least reach out and ask questions or anything like that.
Cool.
Or in the Discord, I know I'm involved with Truth's Discord server too, so you can find me on there under a similar name. I think it's just IronHeart on Discord, but yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, no, that was my other thing I was going to kerplunk is if you aren't in a Discord, please hop in that if you found your way to this channel in another way, or follow either of us on Twitter. You can stay connected that way. But thank you guys for watching, and I'm going to pull up some Fortnite, Father, if you want to hop on that in a bit, if you need to go say hi to the kiddos or something.
Yep, I'll go make sure my kid's comfortable and in bed, and then I'll be on.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks.
Sweet. See you soon. Yep, bye.
Okay.